Ronald Acuña Jr. was scratched from last night's lineup with lower back tightness, and then Atlanta got blasted by the A's. What happens now? Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Wednesday, July 9th, your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're going to get to what happened to Didier Fuentes last night, what Atlanta does from here. But the biggest news from yesterday is Ronald Acuña Jr. being scratched from the lineup. Okay, so here's everything we know and everything that they said about the back injury. Ronald, about an hour, less than an hour before game time, he was scratched with what the Braves called lower back tightness. And Mark Bowman of MLB.com, David O'Brien of The Athletic, both of them are in Sacramento. They both reported from talking to the team that this is technically a day-to-day thing. Okay, so Ronald was lifting weights before the game. We don't know when, could have been a couple hours, could have been an hour and a half. We don't know. Apparently, that is something that he does before the first game of every series. So another situation, the Spencer Strider hamstring injury, he wasn't doing anything outside of the normal, right? And his words were, I did a movement and just felt it tighten up on me. I spoke to the media through interpreter Franco Garcia, who's a super cool dude, by the way. If you ever have a chance to talk to him, he's a super nice guy. But they decided, out of an abundance of caution, to pull him out of the game. And Ronald agreed with that. His comments, again, through Franco Garcia, quote, I think we should just take it day by day to see how we're feeling. My first priority is to be able to rejoin the team and help the guys on the field. That's really my first concern. So the plan now, and Brian Sinker confirmed this. He said after the game, quote, they treated him the whole game. We'll just see how he is tomorrow. That is the plan. See how Ronald feels when he wakes up today. He'll meet with the team trainers and everything out there in Sacramento. And going forward, that is the big question, right? We don't know what's going to happen from here. My assumption, based on how Atlanta likes to do these things, is if Ronald wakes up today feeling great, checks out perfectly from a athletic trainer standpoint, from a medical standpoint, he's back in the lineup probably tonight. Do they maybe hold him out one more game just to be safe? Possibly. He'd play the finale and then the last 3 games in St. Louis before the All-Star break. But if he is sore again today, still has that lower back tightness and all of that, they likely send him back to Atlanta to get an MRI. And if they do that, it's very likely that means he misses the home run derby and he misses the All-Star game. And Ronald's talked before about how much it would mean to him to participate in these events at home. The first All-Star game Atlanta's hosted in 25 years. And long term, I don't think there's any concerns. Back tightness is not something that typically, short of maybe a 10-day IL stint, would keep you out for an extended period of time. And this is just one of those fluky things. This is the Braves' luck in 2025, right? That full quote from Ronald, I felt good coming in today. It was just something I felt doing a movement while in the gym. The first day of every series is gym day for me. I was in there and did a movement and felt it tighten up on me. This stuff happens. I'm 40 years old and I get random back pains from sleeping wrong. I can't imagine being an elite athlete, although he is in his upper 20s. So I get it, right? I don't think this is going to lead to something long term. And I think everybody listening, watching this podcast would agree that at this point in the season, with where Atlanta is in the standings, right? 12 games below 500, 13 games back in the National League East, 10 and a half games back in the wild card. There is no reason to push this. There is no reason to put him back into the lineup unless you are 110% sure that he is healthy and ready to go. There's no need to push him and cause a potential longer-term injury for this season. Because it is abundantly clear to all of us, as everybody not in Atlanta's front office has already publicly admitted, it is abundantly clear that the Braves are not going to do the dang thing this year. They are actually now in a negative run differential. That was the big thing that we talked about, how the expected win-loss total for this team was a much rosier picture than the actual win-loss total, because they were like plus 30 on run differential, but had a losing record. Atlanta is now minus 5 in run differential. It's still only an expected win-loss of 44 and 46, but past the halfway mark of the year, their expected win-loss is losing. And their actual is obviously losing even worse than that, right? They're only 2 games below 500 on the expected. They're 12 games in the actual. And it's funny, the team ahead of them in the wildcard standings, the Miami Marlins, are at negative 57. But in a sign of how poorly things are going for Atlanta, and we're going to get to the actual game in just a minute, but it's just a longer conversation. The Miami Marlins have won 11 games in a row on the road. The Braves have won 15 games on the road all season. Miami has an 11-game winning streak on the road. Atlanta this year has an 11-game losing streak on the road. And if you go back to last season, they lost the last 2 games of the year in the postseason in San Diego. I haven't gone past that, but they're at least 0-13. So, a sign of how things are going for Atlanta. Miami, on paper, from a run scoring, run prevention perspective, has been bad, and yet they're ahead of Atlanta in the standings because they have a winning record on the road, and Atlanta is not only a losing record, it's like barely over 330, 15-29. So, again, Ronald may be back tonight. He may be perfectly healthy and sit out the lineup. It frankly doesn't matter. That game last night, it wouldn't have mattered if Ronald was in there or not, because they just got destroyed. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. I guess we're gonna recap last night's loss. Wasn't a fun game, obviously. Started off with an inside the park home run from Lawrence Butler. And the cruel part of this game and just how the whole thing went is Michael Harris. I'm still not sure if they're trying to get him right or if they're just platooning him against lefties. He was on the bench last night to start this game. One of his best friends and a groomsman in his wedding over the offseason was Lawrence Butler. Lawrence Butler hits 2 home runs, including an inside the parker on the first pitch of the game. The ball hits the top of the wall in right center. Evenly split center fielder Stuart Fairchild and right fielder Eli White, who again entered the lineup less than an hour before game time, and took a weird carom and shot all the way towards the right field corner. And when it happened, I initially criticized the outfielders. Because when you go back and you watch the high home footage, Stuart Fairchild didn't do enough to get over to help with that ball. He was too far away, and he wasn't running full tilt the entire time. He's just assumed that was Eli White's ball and kind of throttled back a little bit. And so because of that, White was racing in as fast as he could to get in front of the wall for the carom. and he wasn't able to stop his momentum. So when the ball hits and shoots towards the right field line, and White has to stop and turn around, it's 3-4 steps of momentum that he has to kill before he can get back after the ball. And a lot of people jumped on me like he couldn't have known the carom was going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. And I still maintain, I deleted the tweets. I didn't feel like having to explain it to 27 people. But I still maintain that if Stuart Fairchild gets a little bit farther over towards the play, and is able to get a carom, if it caroms that way, Eli White's able to throttle down a little bit earlier and can stay on that side of the ball in case it takes a weird carom the other direction. It was a super unlucky carom. You can't expect that to happen. We saw the same thing in San Francisco, right? Patrick Bailey the catcher gets a walk-off inside the park home run on a ball that hit the very top of the wall in right field and just shoots past Nick Castellanos and Brandon Marsh of the Phillies and rolls all the way to the warning track in center because a weird carom off the wall. I still maintain that the backup outfield didn't play that correctly, but going back and rewatching the play, a lot of the issue is on Stuart Fairchild in center, not Eli White in right. Eli White did everything he had to do to play the ball by himself, and because of that, he ended up being in a poor position to go get the carom, the really bad luck carom, but it's not his fault. It's Stuart Fairchild's fault for not being closer to the play and giving him that backup. So anyway, but that wasn't the only bad thing that happened in there, right? Lawrence Butler gets the inside the Parker. Jacob Wilson gets hit by a pitch the very next at-bat. The very next pitch, actually. Hits him on the hand. He leaves the game with a hand contusion. Brent Rooker then homers. So you are 7 pitches into the game. It was a 2-2 sweeper in the bottom of the zone. Or 2-2 slider. You are 7 pitches into the game. You've given up 2 home runs, and you're down 3-0. Fuentes then walks Nick Kurtz. And it was 2 pitches, a bunch of pitches near the zone, but nothing in. It actually wasn't a bad at-bat. Like, it really wasn't. He throws a ball low that probably should have been a strike. It's a ball. He throws a fastball outside or on the outer third, like on the black, and it gets fouled off. He throws a curveball below the zone that's a whiff. And then he throws a splitter the same place that Kurtz doesn't go after. He throws a fastball up and off the plate that's just far enough off to not get the call. And then he spikes a curveball. Like, not a terrible at-bat. Just couldn't put him away. And then after 2 quick outs, infielder Max Muncy, not the Dodgers one, the other one, gets a 1-0 fastball belt high and just launches it. 3 home runs in the first inning. Athletics are up 5-0. Atlanta goes out there, gets a 1-out double from Marcell Ozuna, and then doesn't do anything else. And then bottom of the second, Denzel Clark singles, Lawrence Butler walks, Max Schumann singles to load the bases, and they go to Jesse Chavez. And this is one of the, if I remember saying this right, one of the largest age discrepancies between 2 pitchers pitching back-to-back in the same game in like modern baseball history or something. Because Fuentes is 20 and Chavez is in his 40s. He gets Brent Rooker to strike out, and then Nick Kurtz launches a grand slam. And it was just a change-up that he left in the bottom of the zone, and it just got destroyed. Fuentes is now the only Braves pitcher in franchise history to allow 8 runs and 3 homers over 1 inning or less. Because he officially pitched 1+ innings. He was in the second inning, did not record an out. So the official outing's 1+ innings. This is the first time an Atlanta pitcher had allowed 3 home runs in 1 inning or less since 2017 when reliever Josh Coleminter did it to the Pirates in the 10th inning, actually. It's the first time a Brave allowed 8 earned runs or more in 1 inning or less since Kevin Gausman had a terrible start against the Nationals in 2019. But it's the first time that both of those things have happened in the same game. in franchise history. So Fuentes now has, through 4 career starts, a 13.85 ERA. And Brian Snitker was very clear after the game that, one, we're going to see a roster move today. I'm guessing because I'm recording this in the morning. I'm guessing because they're in Sacramento, it's not going to happen before the show goes up. Hopefully, cross your fingers. But Snitker was very clear that they're done with the Fuentes experiment. Quote, it just spiraled on him. It's a lot to process for a young guy, and it's been a rough go for him. He needs to go back and start pitching in an environment he's accustomed to being in. He's not mature enough to do this yet. He will be, with innings and time. It will be good for him to go back. While I don't love the language about he's not mature enough to do this yet, I understand what Snit's trying to say. And I feel way too many times we have to go and figure out this terrible quote of Brian Snitker's and figure out what he's trying to say. And it feels like what he's trying to say is that Fuentes isn't experienced enough to know how to rebound from giving up a homer or having to hit by pitch or whatever and stabilize again. And so this stuff kind of spirals, like to Snit's point, this kind of stuff spirals and the one bad pitch becomes 2 bad at-bats, becomes a bad inning, and it just collapses. Like, I understand what he's trying to say. I don't love the phrasing of it because it makes it sound like he's immature or he's childish. And what I think Snit's trying to say, and again, I hate that we have to try to figure out what Snit means when he says dumb things. It sounds like he's trying to say that Fuentes isn't experienced enough and comfortable enough in the majors to get past that first bit of adversity and not let it impact him in the next batter, in the next at-bat, in the next inning or so. And he's right. Fuentes is not experienced enough to be doing this. He barely has any experience in the majors. Barely has any experience pitching, period. Again, he turned 20 years old right before his call-up. He has, in his professional career, 48 starts. In his career. And it's not like his numbers were absurdly dominant at the other levels before they moved him up. He made 3 starts in Rome this year in high A with a 5.54 ERA, 8 earned runs in 13 innings. He went to Double-A Columbus, and 5 starts, he had a 5.40 ERA. He did have 1 good start in Gwinnett before he got called up, a 1.93 ERA in 4 2/3 innings. It was 1 run on 3 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. That's a very good start. Not long enough, but a very good start. But like his minor league ERA this year was 4.81. His career minor league ERA, combined with being in the DSL in 2022 and then back-to-back seasons in single A in 23 and 24, his combined minor league ERA is 3.70 in 44 starts. Like, he's literally, like, from a production standpoint, and I know that in the minors, you can't always take ERA at face value. You have mitigating factors with bad defenses. You also have bad opposing offenses and guys who are working on stuff and all of that. But a 4.14 ERA, a 3.70 ERA, does not scream, this is a dude that we have to get up here. And again, I said it on the show, the stuff is good. But I said it 2 weeks ago, they were doing him a malpractice by leaving him out there to make more starts. And I think we saw last night, he's absolutely not ready. And you maybe should have pulled him back after the Angels start. My argument on the show was you should not have had him in there for the Angels start. You should have pulled him back before that. And so now you've got to figure out what you do for the next time through. You need a starter for this weekend. Like, you don't have a starter for Saturday in St. Louis. You don't have a starter for Sunday in St. Louis. You got to find a couple starters here Let's discuss the options next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby, and I don't know at this point what the Braves are going to do. Talked about this on the show before. I've written the newsletter. The focus on pitching has not given you guys who are ready right now. Didier Fuentes was not ready. It took 4 starts for them to decide that he wasn't ready. Last year, when you had more starters, they got Hurston Waldrop out of there after 2. They got Alan Winans out of there after 2, right? It took 4 starts for them to finally decide, yeah, we can't do this anymore. So they're going to be able to make 2 moves for pitchers today. My first assumption is that they're going to option Fuentes down to Gwinnett and call back Nathan Wiles. You're in a situation, there's not a ton of other guys you can do to get some relief arms right now. Michael Peterson, Dylan Dodd, Kevin Herget, they're all within the 15-day window of being optioned down. Unless somebody goes on the injured list, they're going to have to pick somebody else. So Nathan Wiles is my assumption, is the guy that comes up. So number 1, Nathan Wiles replaces Fuentes. My assumption is that Jesse Chavez is going to get DFA'd. And I don't know if that's going to be actually true or not because they're across the country. They'd have to fly somebody all the way across the country. They may keep Chavez until they're ready to fill that starter spot for Saturday and Sunday. And you have the ability to get a 40-man spot. If you wait till Friday or Saturday to DFA Chavez, you can add somebody to the 40-man to fill his role. It feels like your best option right now, as weird as it sounds, your options in Gwinnett are probably going to be either Davis Daniel or Jackson Stephens. And I know that is not what we were expecting to hear, is Davis Daniel or Jackson Stephens. When you look at Daniel, he has pitched to a 3.32 ERA in Gwinnett. One of those was a relief outing at the end of a week. He wasn't supposed to, if I remember right, he wasn't supposed to do anything. And so they threw him in on I think it was a Sunday, and he covered a couple innings in relief. But outside of that, it's all been starts. Again, 3.32 ERA. And recently, he's been not bad. He has 2 consecutive quality starts. 3 runs allowed, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts in 6 innings versus St. Paul. And then he faced them again at the end of the week. No runs, 3 hits in 6 innings, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. But I believe, if I remember this right, I believe he's out on paternity leave this week because his wife's having a baby. So I don't know, do they call him back from that early to make a start out in St. Louis? Is he not an option because of that? I don't know. And so if it's not Davis Daniel starting, then it feels like your option is Jackson Stephens. He did a bunch of relief stuff through mid-June. And he wasn't bad, right? He wasn't good. He had a 4.74 ERA in 14 relief appearances. And then they said, hey, buddy, we want you to work out of the rotation. And he said, okay. And in those 3 starts, he's 1-0 with an 0.61 ERA, 15 strikeouts, 7 walks, and 14 2/3 innings. What I don't love is each one of them, his pitch count's gotten higher, but he's gotten progressively worse as it's gone on. Okay, first one was only 4 innings, but no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts in 67 pitches, 43 strikes. They pushed him a little farther in the next one. 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks to 3 strikeouts in 71 pitches. He threw more strikes in the 4-inning start against Charlotte than he did in the 5-inning start against Norfolk. 43 strikes on 67 pitches in the first one, 42 strikes on 71 pitches in the second one. And then the third start against St. Paul, he goes deeper again, 5 2/3, 1 run on 4 hits, but 4 walks to 3 strikeouts and a hit by pitch. So he faces more batters. He goes deeper, but again, from a strikeout perspective, from a walks perspective, he gets worse again. 87 pitches in that one. Can he probably give you 5 innings in the majors and keep it at 3 runs or less? Maybe. It depends. It's St. Louis, so maybe. He made that start he hasn't started in a week. I don't know if he starts today. Nathan Wiles is the listed starter for Gwinnett on Wednesday. They play in the early afternoon in Indianapolis against the Indians. I'm assuming, again, Wiles gets called to Sacramento. And so I don't know if Jackson Stephens starts or not. The listed starter tomorrow is Roldy Munoz. They don't have any other declared starters the rest of this stretch. Like, they don't have anybody set up for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's all TBD for Gwinnett. And again, Jackson Stephens has not pitched since July 2nd. So I'm guessing he's probably going to be the guy who gets a call for this weekend. He can take Chavez's spot. You can add him to the 40-man to have him make one of those 2 starts in St. Louis. And then you either have to DFA him or run a bullpen game on Sunday to wrap up the first half. I say first half, they've played more than half of games, but the first half of the schedule with the natural break in there. And I wrote about this over at Braves Today, I still advocate calling some of the kids from Columbus. We did see Ian Meja finally get called up to AAA. He went 4 innings in his first start, 5 hits, 4 runs, only 2 earned. He did give up a home run, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. He was very good for Columbus, 1.96 ERA in 10 starts, including a complete game. I think it was a 7-inning complete game. I still think Blake Burkhalter or Lucas Braun should be the next guys to move up. Burkhalter probably, 3.13 ERA in 14 starts, 72 innings. He's allowed 1 home run in 72 innings. Lucas Braun, 4.13 ERA in 85 innings. He's allowed 15 home runs. Like, guys just aren't getting them out on Blake Burkhalter. Maybe you send him up to AAA and you let him try that. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Atlanta does. I'm really curious to see, again, the rest of these moves today. I'm pretty confident it's going to be Nathan Wiles for Didier Fuentes. I don't know if they'll do Jesse Chavez or if they'll try to use him one more time in relief before they then send him down for a starter for Saturday. Because again, the way the rotation lines up is Grant Holmes can pitch the opener against St. Louis on Friday. And then after that, you need Saturday and Sunday before the All-Star break. And you can reset the rotation mostly during the All-Star break and get Strider and Holmes in your first 2 starts against, I think it's the Yankees when you come out of the All-Star break. Let me know what you think. Who do you want to see called up to make the start this weekend? I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can email us, contact@bravestoday.com. I got to get better at responding to some of your emails. I read them all. I just don't always fire off a response right away, and I forget to get back to it later. Also, reminder, we're going to have our live show on Friday. Tons of questions. Bring your draft questions, because the draft will be, again, coming up the very next week. Next week, we will have shows early in the week. I'm going to do probably Monday and Tuesday shows recapping the draft. And then we will take Wednesday and Thursday off, completely off of everything. There's no newsletters. There's no podcasts. We will be back on Friday with our live show prior to resuming the second half of the season. Do me a favor, if you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the daily episode and when we also go live on Fridays for that incredibly fun live show. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.